Behaviour Wars by Jean-Claude. I've come to the conclusion that everything we create, love, produce, invent, hate, destroy, and kill all stems from individuals' or groups' behavior. With all our instant communications devices of today, with a vast access to information, our expressions have created a behavior war bigger than it's ever been. A war of what is good or bad behavior. A war of who will be the first to define its values. We're not even aware of this war when we surf, watch television news, or socialize digitally. This evil behavior war, created from our unaware narcissistic egos, perhaps fueled by pushing an artificial self online, is so dangerous. For those not old enough to remember, narcissism and inflated egos did exist before Facebook and YouTube. People just did it in person. Either it was at a bar or any social setting. People dressed for success and lie of their real wealth, or dress with a sock down the side of a leg to show false size. Justin. Anyways, these patterns of egos emerge even faster now from the onset of technology, as we gain instant gratification from unacknowledged likes on Twitter or Facebook, even to acknowledge on an idea that is absurd in logic. And to exacerbate this behavior war even further is when technology giants like Facebook, Twitter, Google, and YouTube, and our government start creating ridiculous laws and policies that keep suppressing the freedom of speech. These companies use these technologies now to manipulate a narrative that's not even a good one to begin with. This imminent danger that technology companies can force your mind to accept what they think is good behavior, all while changing the rules as they see fit, even when their own rules contradict their own interests. And in the end, they create fear of getting you kicked off social media for you to speak out. Just 10 years ago, it was a running joke if someone got kicked off Facebook, because no one got kicked off Facebook. You had to have done something really, really offensive and bad. But now you get kicked off Facebook because you refuse to believe that Hillary Clinton was the Ave Maria of presidents, and you must believe without evidence that Russians interfered with the 2016 election. Bullshit. What? This truly happens today, and we are all feared into submission. So screw Facebook and go to minds.com. And then you'll have to screw minds.com when they get corrupt. And then you have to go to newfacebook.com. And then you have to go back to newminds.com. You know the cycle. But the cycle does need to end, doesn't it? As iron sharpens iron, as one person sharpens another. We are all in a behavior war. How long have we been in a behavior war? From the moment you were born. The primary question for me is, what is good or bad behavior? Is good behavior governed by our belief in law and order, even when certain laws are manufactured consent for someone else's gain? Is good behavior synonymous to the word love? And then again, what is love? Don't get me wrong, we are not limited by good behavior stories and expressions throughout history. There is more than plenty. For instance, in the Christian Bible, there is a great passage about love and behavior in 1 Corinthians 13. It's worth reading the whole passage, but I'll begin by verse 4. Love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. I believe the artist who wrote this great passage also tried to sum up some examples of good behavior. In many ways, this passage is fabulous, but the least preached today. Also, noticeably, even in our current mainstream media, have a hard time capturing these virtues and allow only a trickle of what they used to. And we trivialize the mind now with catty splash programming. It's not like a river programming where there is consistent substance in developing a television property. But in fairness and with honesty, television, film, print, radio, and theater has demonstrated enough moral stories of good behavior throughout its history by portraying the struggles of characters on the screen and a decision to act honestly within the heart. From the documentaries and real stories of corruption being punished and the victims helped, we have enough moral stories within our society to realize, with a general consensus, of what a good behavior should look like. So then is art then the measurement of good behavior? That would be foolhardy, since many works of art were created to manipulate, distort truth in order to lead people to war or to conflict. Art is a reflection of our truths, loves, lies, struggles, and our wants, desires, and our fears. If you paraphrase laws here in Canada, you can say the measurement of bad behavior is when someone would be cheated, assaulted financially, emotionally, or physically, and the evidence and data would show has a form of intentional abuse to harm in these areas. We do have a history of laws and court cases that all talk about bad or good behavior, otherwise you wouldn't have so many rich lawyers and judges in this country. Many of our definitions of bad behavior within the federal and provincial laws are pretty agreeable by most Canadians. Like not cool to murder, for instance. We can agree on that. But then there are some laws that are written by the devils themselves to manufacture consent to manipulate the unsuspected citizens for profit. Now that's bad behavior. I believe hidden bad behavior is worse than open bad behavior. Open bad behavior gives rise to the real truth of how ridiculous your behavior is and discourages people from joining. Like when the ACLU used to allow the KKK to march on campus and have their assembly. ACLU understood the true nature of free speech is even to allow the absurd thoughts to be spoken. Because in the end, the KKK assembly became less and less, and so did their rallies. Why? Because it allows your judgment of them to agree or not agree by your own eyes, your own ears, and perception. No college or university has a right to ban a speaker or comedian or performer solely based by their beliefs. What has gone wrong with these institutions losing their sense of freedom in history? Bad behavior needs the right to be voiced as clearly as good behavior. How else are we to learn? Now don't get me wrong. I'm not saying bad behavior should be expressed into violence, murder, and death of others. I'm not advocating that. I'm saying that certain behaviors have a gray area where there are more feelings or assumptions than actual facts. It would almost seem that love and good behavior are almost attracted to each other, tied within our souls, urging to give expressions of good behavior. I can cite some Canadian expressions of good behavior like benevolence for one another's neighbors, shoveling the snow for your neighbors who's in Jamaica, asshole, laugh out loud. Anyways, or respect each other by providing parking for a neighbor's daughter getting married. Good behavior would resemble a young man helping an elderly woman off a streetcar with her groceries. Good behavior could resemble the simple gesture of giving your seat to a disabled person on the streetcar. Good behavior should resemble the ability to resist not talking negatively about another person in order to mask your own inadequacies, even though you know that the Toronto Maple Leafs suck. Oops. Good behavior on a corporate level is, hey, yeah, these tubes of tobacco we created, we found out is bad for your health. Yeah, we can't sell these. It's going to kill a lot of people. Let's go back to the drawing board with more innovation. Good behavior is shaking the hand of the opponents who won against you. Funny, I believe that good behavior always seeks the truth. It is almost like a weird quantum attraction. Deep down within the soul of every Canadian, we want good behavior, not just for ourselves, but from others. You can do all the right things for all the wrong reasons. Now, there is an example of bad behavior. You see this so often among celebrities, politicians, dignitaries who have too much money, who have lost connection to other realities. With their sincere need to express benevolence, unfortunately, because of pride, it becomes then twisted into soothing their guilt somehow through famous public contributions. Doing all the right things for all the wrong reasons becomes a dangerous path, not just for the celebrity, politician, or dignitary. It becomes dangerous to those who follow you, copying your behavior of insincerity. I can list a whole 6 pages of bad behaviors and it wouldn't do any good. I believe in listing stories of good behavior when bad behavior was presented. However, I needed to point this out. I believe the worst behavior we have in today's society is what John Fresco said. The problem with society is that we talk at each other rather than speak with each other. A very true statement. So no matter what government, corporation, organizations, charities, religions, humanities you hold belief to, it still comes down to the behavior of individuals and groups. All corruption and bad behavior lead to a moment in time when we needed to make the right decision. You know, that crucial moment not to send that email, text, or make that nasty phone call. So perhaps with this in mind, we will not be so quick to judge organizations and large groups to be so quick to judge individuals. It's time to be meticulous and tenacious and short to speak on our behaviors of others. If there is evidence to speak in judgment of bad behavior of others, then in good conscience it would be perhaps to say bad behavior not to speak out. There was a bunch of senior citizens that were touring Canada regarding the environment during the early 2000s, and one senior said to a reporter, "If you're not going to do anything to help with the environment, then you're part of the problem." What a great statement when we fear to do good because of a backlash from the public, and in doing so, we've allowed bad behavior to rule us. Are we going to allow bad behavior to rule us anymore? No. A good start for me is speaking out against all the known and unknown censorship that Facebook, Twitter, Google, YouTube, and all these tech giants are currently doing, badly behaving with and without our knowledge. That is truly bad behavior. Censoring your speech without your knowledge, without being told, all in secret, that's not cool. To stop this behavior war, we need a habit of examination of our behavior on a daily basis, which should be a priority within our internal dialogue with the soul. To stop this behavior war, we need an examination of our behavior in discussions with other people, whether it is family, friend, or foe. I leave you with these last thoughts in order to stop these behavior wars. We need to be more methodical, thoughtful, inquisitive, and don't rush on comments. And if you set your attentions right from a good heart, I believe things will be fine. Stop believing the guy in the tie or the woman in the skirt or the gender-choosing person in a muumuu on tabloid news trying to convince you of a country's conflict in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Yeah, like we'll ever truly know by a 3-minute and 30-second soundbite from a paid performer on television. Come on, let's get real. Also, never try to hide your bad behavior. It gets nowhere in the end. As C.S. Lewis would say, there's nothing progressive in not admitting to your own mistakes and being pig-headed about it. Now, you can't progress when there is bad behavior. That needs to be confessed. But that's a whole other topic. I like this advice from Stephen Fry, who once said in a monk debate, we have to stop being so certain of ourselves, because we are only human.